wanted to look at an Android app in which there are a few raw text files that are going to be read as a raw resource, and then we're going to pick one at random and read it. The code for this app can be found at the URL seen here. Okay, so let's first start off by looking at the layout. The layout's very simple. There is a button and a text view, and that's all there is to it. So we're going to click the button and then read some text and put it into the text view. And what we're going to read, we created a raw file. So we right-clicked on the RES, the resource folder, and we said new directory, and we added a raw directory. There it is. And then we placed various text files. So these are Shakespeare sonnets 15 to 18. And then we'll show it in action. You click the button and it's going to pick a random number and then create, and then between 15 and 18, and then read the file and put out the text, write out the text from the given sonnet. So there is one of them. There's a different one being chosen at random. Okay, so we looked at the raw resource, we looked at the layout. Now let's move on to the activity. Okay, one thing to point out here in the imports is we're not using Kotlin's random, but we're using Java's random. So when you see the syntax for random, it's sort of, we're borrowing from Java rather than using Kotlin. Okay, so we connect to the interface. So we're connecting to the button that we saw on the interface. We're connecting to the text view we saw on the interface. We're bringing in the randomness, and then we're setting our minimum and maximum value for the randomness. And this is just random for the sake of doing something being random. But what we really want to do is to go from a resource name to an ID, then read that resource. This goes pretty quickly. So here it is. Here we are picking the random number. So we're picking a random next. And this is the sort of the range of values. So there are 15, 16, 17, 18. There are four possible values. And so you subtract 18 minus 15, which is 3, plus 1, 4. So you're going to pick a random number up to 4. So that'll be 0, 1, 2, or 3. And then we're going to add the minimum of 15. So we'll get a random number between 15 and 18. Going to do some concatenation here, and we're making our resource name. So sonnet underscore that number is one of the resources. So under raw here, the resources are sonnet underscore 15.txt, but the resource name does not include the extension. So here in line 35, we have created the resource name. Then in line 36, we're getting the corresponding ID. So it really has, these things really have ID numbers, so we can control the resource name, but then they are given by Android Studio. They're giving resource IDs, and so we have to get from the name to the ID. Now I've called it ID here, but I probably should have called it a name. So here I'm going to the resources. Sometimes you'll see context in front of here. Sometimes context sort of comes and goes as it wants. But we're going to the resources, we're getting an identifier. We're looking for that name, sonnet underscore 15 or 16 or 17 or 18. We're looking among the raw resources within the namespace that is defined by the package. So it is going to look up sonnet 16, and that will correspond to some number, and res ID will be that number. Then when we have that number, we will be able to open that raw resource. So here's the context, the resources, open raw resource, use that ID number. And that's going to create an input stream. And then we can read the input stream, cast as a string, and then put that string into the text of our TV sonnet. And so we saw that. Click the button, pick a number at random, create the resource name from that number, find the ID, then create the input stream, read the file, and paste the text into the TV sonnet. That's it. Thank you.